How you doing, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Colin. This is season 5, episode 3, and today we are doing a special early edition of Coffee with Colin because my guest happens to be an amazing dad in addition to an amazing actor, and he wanted to make sure that he was able to have dinner with his kiddies and be just to be there for his family. So this guy's awesome. He's been an actor for probably the same amount of time that I've been an actor. And we actually did a movie together on Lifetime a few years ago called Carnal Innocence. So be sure to check out this movie. And he's from Montreal, Canada. He's someone who we have a very similar upbringing. He was an athlete and then got into acting. And since then, he hasn't looked back. He's married to an amazing woman. And together they've created a juice business called Little West. So we're going to talk a little bit about his company and entrepreneurship. And what I love about this show is that I get to have amazing conversations with inspiring people and really get to know who they are and what goals they are, what inspires them, and what obstacles that they have overcome in their life to achieve the success that they have. So this fine, handsome young gentleman, he's been on several shows. He's a huge Hallmark movie star. So I'm sure you've seen him and you'll recognize him from either Hallmark or a bunch of other shows that he's been on, including ER, Without a Trace, CSI Miami, Big Bang Theory, and he's best known for a bunch of his Hallmark movies, including A Dream of Christmas, Love on Ice, The Perfect Catch, Love Struck Cafe, Bottled with Love. He's had a Maple Valley Christmas came out 2 weeks ago on Hallmark, and he's got another movie coming up here this Saturday. It's called Three Wise Men and a Baby. So I'm excited to be able to talk to him about this. And if you guys have any questions while we are having our conversation, feel free to type into the chat here. Would love to hear any feedback, and just want to say thanks for joining us here and for all your support. This episode, again, is brought to you by Picticular. And at the end of the episode, we're going to be doing our Picticular Pick 6. If you haven't downloaded the Picticular app, do so right now. Go right to your iPhone or your Android device and download Picticular. Picticular is a movie curating app that allows you to connect with people who are also fellow cinephiles, and you get to share your favorite movies. You get to swipe left or right, depending on if you like the movie or you don't, and you get to swipe up for your lit list. And it's a perfect app for being able to save the movies that you want to watch and share movies that you love. And at the end of the show, Andrew's going to share with us his favorite movies that you can go to Picticular and find out exactly where you can watch these movies. So without further ado, ladies and gents, please welcome to the stage, Mr. Andrew Walker. What's up,
Thank
brother?
you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, my man.
Air hug you there. Air hug you there.
Yeah. Good to see you again. We just saw each
Thanks
other
so
last
much
week.
for having me on, man. I know.
Absolutely.
I know. Yeah, gonna make it more of a regular occasion, hopefully.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, you were here in Scottsdale last week. You came for the opening of the R3 Med Spa and Anti-Aging Clinic. You're a fellow R3 Stem Cell Ambassador, and it's great to reconnect with you, man.
You too, man. Always. It's nice how this whole world has brought us together. I think this came about from seeing you in Florida, at the Roma Drama, and then you were
right.
like, "Hey, what are you doing in the next couple months? Can I have you on Coffee with Colin?" And I was like, "What is that?" You told me all about it, and so congrats, man. Fifth season.
Yeah.
Episode 3. Incredible.
Yeah.
What a run.
It's been great. It's been awesome just to be able to have these great conversations, because normally, when you see actors or anyone on talk shows, it's like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and they barely scratch the surface about like what they're doing and how they really got into what they're up to. And I love to just have these conversations, just authentic and real about what it really takes. Because I think a lot of people look at people who are doing things that, whether it's movies or creating businesses or writing a book, and they think, well, there's no way I could ever do that. But it really just comes down to, having a goal and having passion for it, having people in your life that support you through the process. So I love to have these conversations to share with my audience about some of the things that you've been up to and what you've overcome in your life to achieve what you've been able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I was on Paul Green's podcast a little while ago, and it's funny because we see each other a lot, but we've never actually had like an hour long conversation, him and I. We never sat there. We haven't had time to, he's a dad, he's a new dad now, and he we just, every time we see each other, it's kind of like in and out or at a party or whatever. So this is nice. It's nice to be able to sit down with you like this.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here. And let's just start off, man. So you've been acting now for how many years?
Oh boy. What am I? 43 now. So 31 years.
Wow. Wow. But you're from Montreal, and you started out as an athlete, right? You were telling me last week.
Yeah.
How did the whole acting bug bite you?
Yeah. So, 31 years ago, I was taking an acting drama class at my elementary school, lunchtime drama program. And, 8 classes in, I loved it. I loved this class so much. I was a little athlete, sports were everything to me, and it really kind of harnessed my energy and made me focus a little bit more, and humbled me as a little kid. But I did this drama program and had never felt anything like it, doing improv and creating characters and stuff. And I loved doing these like gibberish kind of style, like dialects and stuff like that. And anyways, the teacher called my mom and she was like, "Hey, I'm starting an agency." This is in Montreal, Canada. And she's like, "I'm starting an agency. Your son seems to be taking a liking to this. Can I put him in my agency and start sending him out for auditions?" And my mom was like, yeah, let's do it. So she spoke to my dad, and my dad was like, no, let's not send him out for auditions.
Why not?
My dad's brother is an actor, and I think he just saw the industry wasn't too kind to him. He's seen the trials, tribulations, and the challenges. It's how it's been for him. And my dad was a practical guy. He was a school principal. My mom's was a librarian, and he was just like, "No, you go to college and I was playing football. I was young, so he didn't realize, how far I'd go in football, but he was like, play football, go to college and graduate with a degree and then, have a 9 to 5, have some savings and retire. And that's just the way things, have kids and retire. But I knew, from an early age that I wasn't that person anyways. Like I was a serial entrepreneur. I always had I had a landscaping business, and then I managed a little fast food joint with a buddy of mine who I own the landscaping business with. And then we were trying to buy real estate, and we were, so anyways, going back to my dad, after he'd said that, he was the first guy to actually take time off of work to drive me downtown Montreal for my auditions. And I ended up booking one of the first auditions I went out for. I don't know if he would have continued to take time off work if I didn't book that first job, but I did it. He saw how much I liked it. He was on set with me. He saw what I got paid, and he was like, "Okay, this is if you want to take some time off here and there, maybe you should."
How old were you at that time?
12.
12. And
yeah,
how did you convince him to take you to the audition when he was against it?
My agent set me out for an audition pretty quickly, after my mom had agreed, and my dad, I think he was just kind of appease my mom and just be like, like I told you so, kind of like he's like, "Look, I'm going to bring him downtown, see what happens. We'll see. It's a kind of pie in the sky. Who knows if he's going to book something. There's a lot of kids out there." And I ended up booking it. Small little role, but it was like a 4 or 5 day working on a show called Are You Afraid of the Dark? And he saw how much I liked it too. But then it just kept on, snowballing from there. I kept on booking, every 4th, 5th job, and had some savings, and I wasn't having to do a summer job really. I had my landscaping business that I started when I was around 13, 14.
Yeah, me too. I cut lawns as well.
It was the best gig, wasn't it? It was the best, man. Make your own time. Yeah. I hired buddies of mine, and set my own schedule. But It was tough. You had to get up and you have to finish your lawns by the end of the week, and living on the East Coast, there's, coming into midsummer with the heat and the humidity, grass was growing so fast. So,
Yeah.
Everyone wanted their grass cut on a Thursday or Friday for the weekend. But yeah, no, so that's kind of how it all happened. And then I just kept on doing it in Montreal for up until I was around 18 years old, when I was really serious into football at that point. And I at 18 years old, I had the best season for this junior college equivalent school in Montreal. The province of Quebec is the only province in Canada that has CEGEP, it's called, which is basically grade 12 and 13. And it's a really great breeding ground for athletes. It's a high level of competition, good coaches and stuff. And my class that year, my football year, like, guys went off full rides to Nebraska, Florida State, Miami, Colorado, a lot of D2 schools. But I got a full ride to Boston College. I committed to Boston College, tore my ACL in a spring camp, and didn't know what I was going to do. But I went back to my acting after rehabbing my knee, and I booked probably what was the most important job, or one of the most important jobs for me at that time, because it was the job that made me realize, okay, well, it introduced me to the friend that I bought a car with to drive out to LA. So I was 18, 19 when I booked that gig. It took me to 21 years old. And my friend and I, that we were working together on this show, this guy, Ryan Wilner. Ryan was a really brilliant comedian. He still is. And an actor. He used to act, but he's now inherited a company that his dad built in his basement, a framing business that his brother have just taken, and it's gone like gangbusters for them. But anyways, we drove out to LA together, and we stayed in LA we were there for 6 weeks, and I ended up I tested for As the World Turns, didn't get it. That was 2 weeks after being in LA, and then after being here for about a month, I booked I tested for a show called Maybe It's Me. It was on Friday nights on the WB. Fred Willard played my dad, and Julia Sweeney played my mom, Pat from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And Ellen Albertini Dow played my grandmother, who is the little old lady from Wedding Singer, Adam Sandler, who played hip hop a hippie to the hippie to hip hip a hop, on the piano. Such a killer cast. The writer was Suzanne Martin and her husband, Jeff Martin. Jeff Martin wrote for The Simpsons. She won an Emmy for Frasier.
Wow.
Just a dream scenario. And that's kind of what basically started my acting career. That was like the real, was.
And basically it was because of a dream of yours was crushed, because you were planning on going to Boston College as a young kid. I played a year of college football myself. And when you're young, and I just always felt like sports was something that I gravitated towards, because I love the competition. I love the camaraderie. And, I understand what that means to want to do something and to compete. And I mean, Boston College is that's an amazing opportunity to play Division I football. So at 18 years old, essentially tearing your ACL, your dream of going to play college football was completely destroyed.
Yeah.
How was that for you? Was that something where you just like went into like hating the world for a little bit, or what was that like?
I didn't realize how psychologically damaging it was going to be when I jumped back on the football field at that age. So I think like ignorance was bliss, so I just handled, look, the thing that I realized about myself is I probably would have been a really great NHL goalie, because I have a short memory. Like I think about something hits me, I'm like, I'm upset, but then literally I'll just like take a 20-minute nap, and then I just like let it go, and I'm like back to like a new
That's
start.
why you're a great actor with auditions, because you need to be able to let auditions go when you don't get
let
them.
the auditions go. Exactly. So I think at that time I was just focusing on rehabbing my knee, and I just wanted to get back, to how I was playing before. But then when I jumped on the football field, I realized I was working through so much pain and so much scar tissue, and then I just wasn't the same player that I was, originally. So at the same time, I booked what, like I said, one of the bigger auditions I've had. It was a series lead on a TV show in Montreal, and it aired on the YTV network in Canada, which was kind of like Fox Family or Nickelodeon in the States. But once I booked that, it was just like, okay, well, I'm being stimulated from this thing that I love, which is acting, and I'm kind of stepping away a little bit from football. And I realized at that time too, I was like, I saw a lot of my friends. I had endured a lot of concussions and a lot of injuries at that point, because it was my ACL that tore first. Then I tore my meniscus after coming back, rehabbing my knee. So I had to go back in for orthoscopic surgery. And then I kept on playing, and I broke my clavicle. And that was like the last, was like the last straw.
There was the universe was giving you a sign to be like,
yeah. It was just like,
man, like,
just keep acting, buddy, keep acting. And then, so it didn't really affect me, but funny enough, like when I was in my late 20s even, and I hear this from a lot of people that play a high level of sport, their teens, when you go so hard in a sport between like 12 to 18 or 19, that's your identity. Like I identified as a football player. I identified as a jock. I was like, why? I still identify more as a jock, I guess. I think I'm a little bit more. It's a little more watered down now. I'm a yogi. I meditate. I do all these things now that are just really. I try to find balance in my life. But there's this like fight. This
competitive
desire, competitive thing that I have within myself. That if I'm running on a treadmill, for example, and even thoughts come through my head going, you can't do 5 more minutes. You can't do 5 more minutes. Well, I automatically will go 10 more minutes just because that thought passed my head. But because I'm like, oh no, I can do 10 more. I can do 10 more minutes, not 5 more minutes at this speed or whatever it is. So I think football was, like you were saying, like sports are such a great training ground for kids. And football, look, I got a soft spot in my heart. I don't know if my kids asked me they want to play football. You talked about it with Cassandra and I think in Scottsdale, but I would try to steer them away from football. But football also it's this like warrior sport. You're all battling together for this to get the win. And and the athleticism, it's so dynamic. There's so many different things you can do in football, between the running and the catching and the tackling and powerlifting, and it's just like the way you train for the sport is real. I think it's just you can pretty much do anything after that. Skiing, I'm a big skier now, and that like quick twitch muscle training that I had back when I was playing football has helped me as a skier, so anyway,
in terms of shifting from athletics to acting, I'm sure you've heard the expression, the expression, well, it wasn't meant to be, or it was fate that you got injured. Do you believe in there? There's always it happened for a reason, or do you believe in fate? Do you believe that life is predestined, that you were predestined to be an actor, or that it just was a random happenstance that you got injured and then found acting?
I don't. It's a good question. I personally, and I don't know if it's the right way, wrong way, I don't know. But personally, the way I live my life is I'm a log floating down a river, and I bounce off rocks. Sometimes I get caught in a little eddy, sit there for a tiny bit, feel good, take a break, and then I just keep flowing down that river. And, if I were to have really, because I did still have a chance to go and continue to pursue that football dream of playing for a Canadian college. But if I didn't jump in that car and decide, hey, I'm going to take this month to just try out LA, well, I wouldn't be in LA right now. I might not even be married to my wife, so I think I'm somebody, again, going back to that short memory and just I look at life in like little blocks, like they're just bite-sized pieces. And if something happens, you see that red exit sign on the door and
Mhm.
it's flashing, flashing, flashing. Well, I guess that's the door I should go in at that time, and in that moment. So that's what I do. I just kind of like, you know, um, I take opportunities when they arise, and I'm like, I try not to look. There's a lot of there is a lot of you can be hit up against a wall in something you're doing, and I don't.
Mhm.
This might sound like you give up and start something else. No, I think that there's things that you obviously have to like push through and get through in the thing you're doing, but within that, like going to our juice company, these there was a lot of fight that had to go through this juice company, but once you kind of break through a couple of those walls, well, there's still that door that's saying, hey, take this door, and you got to listen to that
Mhm.
intuition. You got to listen to that, and so, um, yeah, I think life happens for reasons, but you shouldn't have to really like fight or go against your instincts. Go with your instincts. Your instincts are there for a reason.
Yeah.
There's like you have these initial instincts, and I think that people don't listen to them enough sometimes. You kind of sit in this comatose state, in life where you're like you're just a passenger, but no, you have to take action on those doors or those openings, or so
Yeah. Have you
that's
ever
that's
felt that? Because I I think a lot of people get stuck where they do things because they feel like they have to, like you were saying with your dad, go to school, get a job, have kids,
yes.
and that's the traditional route. I think that's really starting to change nowadays. But in terms of where people feel like there's certain things that they think they should do, and a lot of the times when we listen to our instincts, like you were saying, that's where the juice happens. That's where the great things happen in life. But a lot of that, a lot of that is in the unknown territory, and that's why people are afraid to step into the unknown, even if it's something that their instincts are telling them to do. I guess what advice would you tell someone who is facing that, where they feel like they need to do something because they think it's the right way to do it, or I guess maybe the question could be: have you been faced with that circumstance where you had a dilemma between what you thought you should do and what you knew in your heart or your instincts were telling you to do?
Yeah, I think the simplest way that I can answer this is that anytime that someone is feeling overwhelmed, or they don't know what it is that they should be doing next in their life, I think it's always about going back to your inner self, your inner mind and body and spirit, soul, all these things. And I think that it's always about like, the only formula that because my going back to my dad and how he was like, oh, the formula of life is go to school, graduate with a degree, get a job, have kids, and then retire, work hard 9 to 5 for 35 years and then retire.
Right.
And then you can travel, and then you can see the world and stuff like that. The only formula that I abide by is the formula of how to live a long, healthy, fruitful life in my physical body. And so that's the only formula. Wake up in the morning time, drink water with apple cider vinegar, have a matcha latte, put some good adaptogens in my coffee, work out, get a sweat once a day, go to, do some breathing exercises, sit in nature, go to an open space, be silent for a bit, meditate. All of these things are the formula for a long, long, healthy life. That's the only formula that I follow. The outside of that, I feel like when you do all of these things, all of a sudden, and obviously you have to have a goal. You can't just be you can't
Right.
just be or you could be a monk. You could sit there, and that's not a bad thing either. You could be a recluse. That's not bad. But you amidst all these things with your job, whatever your job is,
Mhm.
you will be a happier person. And for me, it's all about like how can I be the happiest version of myself while living in this metaphysical world that we live in, where it's like, we have to do the things that we do, and there's material items that we need in order to, like, live as well. Like, I want to live in a nice house. I want to have a nice car. How do all these things happen? Well, it always has come back to, and even when you go, like, I know a lot of people struggle with being around other people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, if you feel comfortable within yourself, if you've done these things, if you're just hydrated and you have a good night's sleep over the course of the 3 months, or you're going to bed, your circadian rhythm is like on point, you will be a happier, more, open and a more, a better listener. You'll be a better friend. You'll be a better parent. You'll be a better dad. You'll be a better husband, wife, whatever it is. You got to focus on yourself. You have to focus on keeping yourself healthy first, and all of these other things will kind of come to you in a way, and it might be a selfish way of saying it, but my dad had a big heart attack when he was in his late 40s, early 50s. And my dad, like, never smoked, never drank. He was consumed by stress with his work, and he was really hard on my sister and I. But his cardiologist said to him, he goes, Bruce, you have to take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your family. You can't take care of, you can't earn an income to pay for the things you want to pay for. So you have to focus on yourself first. And I think a lot of people, they forget to, put their own oxygen mask on first and just take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And then, and I think then, then you can whether you are an accountant, or you're a garbage man, or you're an actor, or whatever it is you do, if you take care of yourself, opportunities, things will come up, and you'll be a more well-rounded, happier individual. And I think ultimately, in this world that we live in, I think in this weird way, man, like, I get this, especially, I was at the Tegatron in Joshua Tree this past weekend. I went to a sound bath. Okay. The Tegatron is like this very weird architectural construction. Yeah. Back in like this guy built it back in like the 60s, I think it was. Something Von Tassel is the guy's name. And he was one of the first guys to fly one of Howard Hughes' airplanes. And he was like one of Howard Hughes' like pilots and right-hand guys. Anyways, he built this thing, and now there's no metal in it, no nails, nothing. It's just wood, so it resonates sound incredibly well. And they didn't know what to use it for, but they started using it for sound baths, and it's unreal. The sound bath, anyway,
where it's like
sound bath,
the
bowls,
and it's the vibration of the sound that heals, right? 7
bowls representing 7 different chakras in your body, and each bowl has a different resonance to it, different tone. And a different, like one bull will go whoa, 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 whoa. Another bull will go whoa, whoa, like this. Another bull will just be woo, like that, just straight. Yeah. And then they'll ding them, they'll hit them, and it'll go dong, like this.
Yeah.
This might be a very weird thing I've never said this on like a podcast before.
This is great, because I'm sure everyone loves music, and music, you can feel it, and sometimes you can feel chills in your body when you hear certain sounds, and especially like meditation music, where it has a calming effect. And they've actually done studies where when they've played music and they put sand onto like the top of a drum with certain sounds, the sand will actually organize in geometric patterns based on the sounds that are played. It's pretty amazing how sound can actually affect our bodies and heal. And I mean, That sounds amazing.
So
Sound
when I was there, sound bath, yeah. When I go to sound baths a lot. When I'm in Vancouver, I go to the sound bath every Monday night when I'm up there, and it's amazing. I've found, like, I used to think it was a waste of time. I'm like, if I have that time, I'm gonna go work out or get a sweat in or something like that. But now it's about, like, I really try to focus on, like, taking care of myself in a way and being gentle on myself, because I work so hard. When I go work out, when I do things, well, is there ways that I can just kind of be gentle on my body? But going back to the sound bath and going back to, like, living a happy life and, like, not taking yourself too seriously, and all these things that, there's a lot of weight on people. People put a lot of weight and stress on themselves. And I think that, like, being gentle and kind to your body, and when we're, as we live on this planet, because this is temporary, why are you going to put so much pressure on yourself? And going to this, like, going into the sound bath and taking sound baths and meditating and going to yoga, this is all training in this weird way. I've never said this on a podcast or anything. In a weird way, it's training, I feel like, for leaving this world, for getting ready to leave this world and go to the next, and it's making you feel okay with passing through to this next dimension or place that we're going to go to. And once you're okay with that, well, what do you have to worry about? Like, what do you, because this world is like, you can get caught up in so much of what's happening in this world, and it's heavy, it's heavy, but it's always been heavy. You can always find the heaviness, it's time you got to go back to, like, the lightness and the exploration, of yourself, other people, and I think when I get nervous to be around people or be in an environment, an environment with other people, the way that I get out of that is asking more questions on that, like asking more questions about the other person, asking, being more,
open and receptive instead of putting a wall up. Because I think it's so easy for us we find people that we connect with and we have the same viewpoints, and then anything outside of that is different, unknown, dangerous. And I think it's such great advice to just keep an open mind, ask questions. And I feel like so many people are just not willing to have a dialogue now. Everyone is so wanting to just cancel everyone, to the point where it's so easy to hide behind social media, and it's so easy to just turn on the news and see everything that's negative in the world. And I think that's why it's so important to just keep focusing on, like you were saying, taking care of yourself, being kind to yourself, being gentle with yourself, doing things like meditation and these sound baths, which some people may think is like kind of crazy and woo-woo, but honestly, this is the stuff that really has made a difference in my life and my career. And it's helped me get over my anxiety and my fear of auditioning, because I used to be terrified of going into my auditions, and I would just get so anxious because all these feelings of judgment and feeling not good enough would just come up to the point where I would sabotage myself. And I was like, I'd be in my acting class and I'd be like, I love acting, I love storytelling. Why is it when I go into my auditions, do I feel so, like, panicky and anxious? And that's where I started to search out meditation teachers and therapists, and going into this world of, like, personal development, Tony Robbins, just to go do this inner work to find out what are these subconscious beliefs that were holding me back in my life. And it sounds like you've been doing a lot of the same work. And I think it's so important in our lives to be able to do this kind of stuff. Were you ever, like, super nervous in auditions, and how do you deal with stress of acting and auditioning and all that?
Man, yeah, it was like nervous wreck. It's crazy. I would talk myself out of, before I walked in the room, I'd already talked myself out of the job.
Yeah.
It was
what am I doing here? There's that actor. Why would they pick me?
That's it. Exactly. Just I going back to breath work and all the stuff we learned in acting class, and just the fourth wall, trying to get into my space as much as possible and forget about the other people in the room and the judgment, and those like searing eyes at you, going like watching your every single move.
Yeah.
And so it's like just focus on the words, focus on what I want from the other person, where I am in the scene. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it this? Is it that? Like just all these, just trying to bring in as much as my training as possible. And it's tough, but I bet you we spoke to every single actor, that has gone into an audition, and they feel the same way. I doubt there's a very small handful of actors that absolutely love auditions. I mean, the anticipation is, it actually reminds me of the anticipation I used to have playing football.
Yeah.
I know I can act. I know I can act. How good of a performance I'm going to give in this one audition?
Not sure.
I don't know. I don't know at all, but I know that I can do it.
Go explore. Yeah. The thing that really helped me was just training on being in the moment, because a lot of the fear, the anxiety I realized was having an attachment to getting the job, or having an attachment to what these people were thinking about me. And the more that my acting teachers kept reminding me of just be in the moment, connect with the casting director or the other actor in the room. That's where the magic is, when you can just allow what is going to come up naturally and organically. And I think a lot of the times we try to control situations. We try to control, even like in business, when we go into a business meeting, we have an idea of what we want. And if you're too rigid in that negotiation, a lot of the times it's not going to work out. When you can just show up and just have a conversation and really just connect, and like you were saying, ask questions and just have that flow and that connection, and just literally see what happens.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times it's when you do that, you're creating the opportunity for something great to happen. It's not always going to work out. And I think it's important to recognize that you got to know that it's not always going to work out. I mean, the auditions that we go on, most of the time we know it's not going to work out, but we know that there is that chance that unless we just throw ourselves into it and give it our all and say, I needed to learn to just show up and be like, here I am, flaws and all. This is, I'm Colin. I'm like, this is what I got. And I know it's not going to maybe be what is needed or necessary, or whatever, but it might be. And I'm just going to show up and see what happens, do my best, and not be attached to the outcome. And I think that's what's really helped me start achieving more of the success in my life, is just not being attached to that outcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine playing on the PGA Tour, those guys, like, I think we complicate things so much more than we should as actors. We go in and we're thinking all these thoughts about like trying to like be, a character that we don't necessarily have to be, because you have flaws. We all have flaws. And like you said, just like
show your flaws.
Show your flaws.
That's what people like fall in love with. They fall in love with
exactly.
Like little things that make them unique and different. And a lot of people just try to hide all of their flaws and try to look perfect. And you can tell when people are just trying to hide who they really are. It's hard to connect with people. Yeah.
That's why I got so much respect for pro golfers. It's like there's no flaws there. And they have to, every single time they hit that ball, it's got perfect, and the more the farther you get in the tournament, the farther you get. It's just like us when we test, when you go through, people that don't know this, that listen to this podcast, like you could potentially go through 6 rounds of auditioning. You go into that first day and it's like, oh, you kind of throw it away. Throw it out there and just kind of give what you give. Then like, oh, you come back for callback. You go in for producers, then you go in for producers and director. Then you go in for a studio test. Then you go in for a network test. And it's just, it feels never ending. And every single stage there's added pressure. And especially when you go to test, because you know how much you're going to get, you know how much you're making. You've signed your deal already.
Here's the money.
There's 4 other guys that are there with you that have all signed their deals as well.
Yes.
And
so what advice would you give someone who's facing something that has that amount of pressure associated with it, whether it's an acting job or whether it's going into to interview for a job, or whether it's what advice would you give someone who faces a lot of pressure and stress in their life with regards to what they do?
I would say find something after that pressure moment that you're looking forward to. If it's like treat yourself to like sushi, or to a vanilla latte, and think about getting through that moment and having that treat, that little nugget at the other end. Because once whoever has gotten that far in anything they're doing, obviously they are meant to be there. So if you can say to yourself, okay, I can't wait for that little treat that I have at the end of this. I'm just going to do what I have to do right now. Just get through it, and then I'll treat myself
Reward yourself.
Reward yourself after that.
Yeah.
Pick a reward. Pick like a great reward, something really good. Like don't skimp on that reward.
So with regards to taking care of yourself, as you were talking about, you obviously I've mentioned that you have your juice company called Little West that you've started with your wife Cassandra. This is all natural juice. It is super, super good. And we've had it. I know it's in a few different stores, and one of my favorite coffee shops in Venice, California, Alfred's, has it. And it's super healthy for you. So in terms of taking good care of yourself and health and wellness, this is an amazing thing that you've created with Cassandra. Tell us how that started and why you guys created this.
Well, thanks, man. It started as just a little passion project. We had an opportunity to open up in a space that we thought could be pretty successful, lucrative.
But why juice? How did the whole concept of juice come up?
We were doing hot yoga at the time at one of our favorite hot yoga studios here in California, called it started actually in Canada, called Moksha in Canada. Then they rebranded it to Moto Yoga. They opened up their flagship store. I had done it a little bit working on a show in Toronto. I just first time walked in the studio. I was like, you know what? I think I should want to switch things up, try hot yoga. And immediately I was addicted. And so when I was leaving, going back to LA, I was like, what's the closest thing that I could be doing that's like this in LA? Do you have a sister, studio or whatever? And they said, actually, we're opening up our flagship spot in Los Angeles in the next month and a half. Go check it out. So, Charlene Lee. Thanks, Charlene. The Quench is my favorite, she says. Mine too, Charlene. Summertime, The Quench. It's great. And so I started going to the studio. I was one of the first people to join this hot yoga studio when they opened up on La Brea and 3rd. And after a few months of getting to know the owners and getting to know the space, my wife and I were out for dinner with the owners, and they said, hey guys, don't tell anybody, but we're taking over the space next door. The rug shop is coming up for lease. And so we're going to build out another studio. And we were like, oh, wow. What's the plans? Do you have plans for like some sort of smoothie shop or juice bar or something like that? Because we were going to, my wife and I Cass and I would go to Venice every Sunday, pre-kids. And we would spend a day at the beach, go to a yoga studio, go to a yoga class out there, and go to Moon Juice, which was a really great juice bar out there. One of the best premium cold pressed juice bars at that time in California, and still to this day they're amazing. Like, they're brick and mortars. They have the best juice in a brick and mortar in Los Angeles. And so we'd go out there, and so we knew that this studio needed something like a quick health bar, healthy grab and go items of some sort type place. And so Cassandra and I said to the owners, like, do you guys have any kind of any plans for a juice bar or anything? Because we might be interested in potentially opening up something in the front of your space. And they said, well, guys, if you are interested in that, we would love to potentially talk to you about this, because we had it in our plans, but we don't want to run anything like that. So you guys we'll carve out the space, you guys run it. And that's what we essentially did. We shook hands that night after a couple more glasses of wine. That the next morning, Cassandra and I woke up and we were like, what did we just agree to? We have no idea about this industry. And fortunately, at the time, we had invested in a restaurant called the Churchill on 3rd Street
Yeah, I know.
in Los
Yeah.
Angeles. So we were, original investors in there, and one of the partners there, this guy Bo Laughlin, he had opened up a bunch of different restaurants in the city at that time, and he came in and partnered with us for the first 5 years of our business, and we were able to use one of his a bakery at the Churchill that was upstairs as our juicing hub. So I'd be juicing all throughout the night. So what I said to Cassandra when we first started the business, I was like, okay, well, I'll just take 6 months off acting. You run the juice bar, I'll do the juicing, I'll supply the store with the juice. You take care of, the hiring and running the
So did
store.
you just start
managing the store and
Googling
stuff.
like what juices, like combinations, and how to?
Yeah, so we knew what juices we liked through Moon Juice. We love juice. I was already going to friends' pool parties. I'd bring a backpack with a Jack LaLanne juicer. I'd bring pineapple, kale, cucumbers,
Okay.
apples, pears. So I'd bring all these celery. I'd bring all these ingredients, and we would juice. And I'd bring a bottle of tequila, and I'd make all these cocktails with
Amazing.
cold pressed juice, and people would freak over them, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best! No hangover in the morning." And so when we first opened our doors, we're like, let's carve out let's identify ourselves as more of like a super accessible, non-hippie juice bar, where it's like most juice bars that were opening up, it was like health and wellness, and that's it. Cleanses, people were all about like, you got to do your cleanses. We were like, hey guys, get like a few juices for the week, but also make sure you get your juices for the weekend so you can pour cocktails. So you can like use the juices to, mix with vodka and tequila. And so when we were making our blends, we were like, well, let's make sure that they have some sort of like girth to them, like our ginger snap, which has kind of got a cult following. It has so much ginger in it, but it really holds up when you pour it with vodka. It's a healthy Moscow Mule. It's a really delicious Moscow Mule. You do with tequila, spicy margarita. But anyway, so yeah, juice. We knew we wanted to do juice. We knew the ingredients. Cassandra knows how to make healthy food taste great, and so she was doing all the recipes in our kitchen, in our little 2-bedroom condo, and she had all of our neighbors try our juices before we launched. We were giving our green juice to 15, 20 different neighbors and friends and getting all their feedback. And it was really scary. When we did our first juice was the Clover juice, which was our namesake juice because we used to be called Clover Juice. And it was inspired by our niece, my sister's daughter.
Yeah, I had it last week. Clover. It's really good.
And we sweetened it with pear as opposed to apple. So we did a few things that were different. We're gonna put cilantro in it because we really love cilantro. Great health benefits to cilantro. Some people have an adverse reaction to it where it comes up as soap for some reason on the taste buds. But we were like, we love it. And we also sweeten it with pear because pear has a little bit more of a smoother finish to it, and apple is it's higher in acidity and higher on glycemic index, and it covers up the green flavor. So just little things, we just kind of did our own. We decided to go with our own recipes that we felt really would resonate with people that that resonate with us and our friends. So we were like, let's just go with it, and it took off. One juice bar led to 2, led to 3, and then our wholesale business started taking off. Alfred Coffee was one of our first wholesale accounts, and then we about 5-6 years ago decided, because our wholesale business was really starting to take over from our retail business, we're like, why are we even messing with retail anymore? Let's start shutting down one of our stores. So we shut down one store every year, and our last store shut down in 2019, which was our flagship spot in the by the hot yoga studio that was there. And that's how we've just continued on from there, and we're all entirely wholesale business now.
And how is that? I mean, so Cassandra, is your wife, has been running that. Is that her baby, or you guys doing
That's her baby
still? And
That's her baby.
Yeah.
I ran it with her for, I was about 70-30 because I was still trying to act as much as I possibly could, but it was very tough. But year and a half ago, we got acquired, and Cassandra and my deal was that we were going to stay on board until May of 2023. Cassandra became the CEO officially at that time. And we have a bigger team of people that we work with now. And I wasn't having to go out and raise capital constantly like I was before. And they've been financing us and just trying to build our business to a place where we're one of the leading juice companies in the United States. So they've really helped us, and it's been a great partnership.
And for entrepreneurs out there, do you have any advice for anyone who's looking to start their own business? How many years have you been working on this? And did you bring in any outside consultant help, any business advisors to help you get to where you're at?
So there was nothing like that. When we first started our business, we went to Moon Juice when we knew that we were going to do this juice bar concept. We were Googling, we were trying to find where to find these commercial grade cold press juice machines. There was nothing like it on the market. There was no consultants. This is 2013. And so we had this whole game plan. We parked the car in front of Moon Juice. Cassandra and I were like, okay, we're going to go in. We're going to be super friendly. We're going to buy like a bunch of items. Then we're going to ask them just nonchalantly, okay. So, and I'm like, Cass, you should probably ask them because you come across a little less like you have something up your sleeve than I do. And so we're going to go in and ask what kind of juicer they use. And so we're like, had this whole game plan. We go in, we're small talking. And then as we leave, we're like, oh, by the way, what kind of juicer do you guys use to like create the juice? And the store clerk was totally fine. Like they just shared it with us. She's like, oh, it's this machine called Good Nature. And so like, okay, thank you. Go to the car, start Googling Good Nature. It was really difficult to find the Good Nature machines. And since then, we've become really good friends with the owner of Good Nature. His name is Charlie Wetlaufer. They have an amazing story. His dad used to make bombs. He was an engineer, used to make bombs, and his wife died in a car crash on the way to their wedding when he was in his mid to late 20s. And he decided, he rethought his entire life. He goes, I want to stop doing what I'm doing. He bought a little farm next to an apple orchard, and he started making these like presses for his neighbor, apple presses for his neighbor. And his neighbor used the apple press, and he kept on refining it. And he basically created this like amazing apple press, and that apple company is now Martinelli's. Martinelli's apple juice. So Martinelli's was his first customer. Was the apple press that Martinelli's juice had used was a Good Nature, and now Good Nature does juice. Does cold press juice machines for pretty much every single juice company out there. And we started a cold press juice alliance with Charlie, where we put on two conventions. And it was basically bringing all these people. Became more of like a beverage convention, but it was mainly juice entrepreneurs, cold press juice entrepreneurs, because it's a very weird niche world, and it's super difficult. If you do it well, it's very tough to make money in. The margins are super slim because you're buying produce, if you're honest about it, you're not buying bricks of of pre-frozen, pre-pasteurized juice, which is most companies do, because that's the way that you stay profitable. We buy from small family farms all the way up and down the California coast. We buy pallets of kale, pallets of apples, pallets of pears, celery, all of our ingredients, and we small batch. Every single one of our juices are 50 to 100 bottles of juice. So it's 50 to 100 equivalent bottles of produce that go into a bin. You pour the whole bin of all of the ingredients into the cold press juice machine, grinds it all up, blends it, presses it. It all falls out as together. You're not juicing by percentage. We're not juicing like all the kale first, all the apples first, and filling the bottle by percentage, which a lot of companies do as well. These are all different ways that you can cut corners, and you can kind of better your margins, but it compromises the quality and the taste and the flavor and you know, the color of your juice.
And compared
So
to
with this,
like the stuff that you see in the grocery store, like some of these name brand juices, what's different about your juice and healthier about your juice is that it's not pasteurized. It's not like, tell us the difference
it's
between
not,
like what are the
well,
health
there's multiple,
benefits of your
yeah.
juice compared to what people normally go and buy at the grocery store?
So, you know, what I just said, the, you know, small batch is one thing. So we small batch all of our juices. Number two, when we buy our pallets, we purchase between midnight and 10 a.m. from the farmers, direct from the farmers. There's this thing called the Produce Mart downtown LA, which is kind of like, I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Euro Dreams of Sushi, but it's the guy that created Chef's Table, who, it was his first documentary, and it was basically Euro going to the fish market and picking the fish, and he has the relationships with the fish, with the fishermen that come through. And our kitchen manager, Antonio, is that guy. So he goes, walks the mart, says hi to all the farmers, picks up the kale, looks at the batches, looks at the pallets. But these are farmers that we obviously trust, that we have a long-standing relationship with. So he goes in there and basically buys the produce 24 hours after it was harvested. So we're not buying from a third party, where, again, another way to, you know, to cut corners and to, you know, to potentially save a little bit of money, is you buy produce that's wilted, kale that's wilted, spinach that's wilted, that's been sitting in a warehouse for 3-4 days, at a third party produce distributor. And a lot of the people think, well, I'm making juice, nobody sees it. It's not like I'm having, you know, it's not like they're eating a salad, then it needs to look fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the time people will buy that produce that's been sitting in the warehouse at a discounted rate, and then they'll juice that produce. But we buy it 24 hours after it's been harvested, so it's still nutrient rich, and we're juicing it 48 hours. So we do this. It's 48-hour farm to bottle is basically our tagline. And our blends, man, our blends are, Cass and I are ex-athletes, and when we put together our blends, we're like, well, what are some super anti-inflammatory ingredients? We use a lot of ginger, a ton of ginger in a lot of our juices, and you'll taste it. Our Go Big is a beet juice, but it's got equal parts kale to beets in weight. So when you think of how much a beet weighs compared to a stalk of kale, you know, we're putting a lot of kale in there. We're juicing wheatgrass separately, putting an ounce of wheatgrass into the juice, because it's just better. You can't juice wheatgrass in one of these big commercial grade juicers and get the same extraction of nutrients out of it and juice. And then you know, we do a lot of turmeric. It's a lot of balance between like roots and veggies. You know, the rooted flavors, the veggies, and then
And the benefit of all of this, obviously, just all natural and fresh. So as far as like the preservatives that are in juices at the grocery store, there's none of that in any of the products that you manufacture, right?
So I always say, you know, people forget to read the back of a label. They look at the front of a label and they go, oh, it's this and that, and that, you know, but companies are always trying to trick you. You know, they're always trying to trick. There's buzzwords for everything, you know, organic and all natural and all these things. Yeah. Natural flavors, all this stuff. But even in the juice world, what it is you'll have beets, carrots, apple, you know, on the front, and then you look on the back and it says kale juice, beet juice. That means that they're buying, when it says juice after the word beet or after any ingredient, it means that they're pre-juicing this stuff. They're buying it in bricks, frozen bricks, pasteurized, pre-pasteurized, and then they're putting it into the bottle. What we do is it's what you see on the front is what you see on the back. It's fresh produce. The way we give it shelf life, it's this thing called HPP, high pressure processing. It's the healthiest way to give shelf life to any premium product that's in plastic. It has to. That's the only unfortunate thing about HPP, is it has to be in something that gives. There has to be a little give to it, and so you can't do it in glass. It'll crack the glass. So we put it through this big chamber, cold water chamber that applies 87,000 pounds of pressure on the bottle, and it's basically like squeezing an egg evenly on all sides. You won't break the egg. You'll change the molecules on the inside of the egg, though. It'll change. It basically kills the 5 bacterias like Listeria, E. coli, that could be harmful to people, and that's what it was meant for. To just kill the harmful bacteria, but it keeps all the minerals and all the vitamins in there.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you're obviously an expert in all of this. And I got to meet Cassandra last week when she was here for the opening of R3 Anti-Aging and Med Spa. Now you're a brand ambassador with R3, as am I. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is about R3 and regenerative medicine that excites you and that you're interested in?
Man, going back to like what I said earlier on in the podcast, just I feel like people forget to take care of themselves, and there's so much California, and now look, Arizona, and I think it's just it's sweeping across the nation, the world. People are finding ways to live longer, to take care of themselves. There's a lot more pollutants in the air and water we drink and all these things now. So I think people are really trying to focus on ways to live happier, or healthier lives. And, I don't want to be an 80-year-old with a cane,
Right.
hunchback. I'm trying to defy age, and I want to be the healthiest version that I possibly can be for my kids, for my family, for me. And, and so, yeah, I have access I've had access to some of the stuff, not stem cells, but some of the stuff through a friend of mine here in Los Angeles, and which has totally piqued our interest, with the hyperbaric chambers and the IV therapies that we've been getting and ozone therapies. And it really started to come around during COVID, where I was like, what's the best way to boost my immune system? Like I just want to find ways that I can do it alternatively than having to rely on big pharma and other more typical Eastern medicine routes, and
more natural ways of healing.
More natural ways of healing. And that's the way that I grew up. My parents did it with food. They did it with food. And so now that R3 came around, and you had and Dr. Green and Kathleen had put this on our radar. I mean, of course, Cass and I we already drink the juice, literally, so we're like, this is very intriguing to us, and we would love to be a part of this. And so,
you got an infusion of stem cells last week.
Got an infusion of stem cells. I got some PRP in my face. I'm not shy to say, which is basically, thanks, man. Thanks. Which is, if people don't know, I mean, it's basically, it grows new tissue, new cells and new tissue. And so, I feel awesome. I did it. I just jumped off the Peloton before we did this podcast, and I feel like I'm breaking new personal records.
It's awesome.
Since that day, awesome. But maybe it's a little placebo effect, but I don't know. But I'm excited for it. Yeah. You guys are doing incredible things there at R3.
Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of all of it. It's really exciting in terms of the direction that medicine is going into, and being more natural and not having to rely on so many just drugs that have so many side effects. So I want to get to some of the questions here on the right on our chat here. And Elaine McCaw from Ireland is asking, what advice would you have for, she's a primary school teacher, and she's asking, do you have any advice for providing opportunities for kids to get into drama or acting? I've got so many talented kids.
Yeah, I would say, look, for me, it was a lunchtime drama program. And I'm sure there is programs there, acting classes, improv classes. I think for kids, improv is probably the best stepping stone or the best intro to acting, because, you're not having to study lines. You're just really getting into the imagination and kind of getting out of your head and into your body. And I think that's what I think kids really are drawn to that. It's a lot of fun. Like I hear my kids talking gibberish to them, to each other, and having so much fun, just like creating languages and pretending like they're animals. And we do it so much as kids, we forget, and so.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you're an amazing dad playing all these different characters with your kids.
Yeah. If there was a camera in here,
Yeah.
it'd be funny.
How old are your kids?
2.5 and 7.
Okay. And have they expressed any interest in acting, or are they just still too young to even?
My 7-year-old has a little bit, but he keeps telling me he wants to be an engineer. So I'm like, okay, buddy. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I won't push you in the other direction. You can be an engineer.
Awesome. Sharon Kalma is asking, which actor or actress would you like to work with, and which actor and actress has had the most impact on your career so far?
Look, man, this might be cliche, but Tom Cruise. I'd say Tom Cruise. He's my hero, honestly. The guy, he cannot do anything wrong. He just keeps, when we talk about R3 and defying age and just being your optimal self, he's really a force to be reckoned with, and he's so committed in everything he does. And I'd say Tom Cruise. And but I did love, and rest his soul, man. I loved Philip Seymour Hoffman. Was such a great actor.
Yeah,
I loved watching him. And when you look at the type of guy that he was, he could play, like he was a real chameleon. He could play anything. Mm-hmm. He could be the cool guy. He could be the killer. He could be the creepy neighbor. He could be the fun-loving dad. He could be, he could play every single role. He was a real character actor, like one of the best.
Yeah. Great choice. Corrine Kruger is asking, what are the beads on your wrist?
Oh, well, this one actually, funny enough, this one here, I was at a dinner in Florida at Roma Drama, and Ryan Pavey gave this to me.
Oh,
he
nice.
makes these. He makes these. He does silver work.
Yeah.
Beautiful silver work. This was one of our best girlfriends. She is dating this yogi, and he has a store in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. His name is Sat Gurumukh, and he makes this jewelry, and it's like beads that are, it's tiger's eye and some other things on there, but it's a kind of stones that do certain things, and then this one here was, I was just walking in Vancouver, and there was like a local outdoor market that was going on, mm-hmm. and a woman was raising money for her son with Down syndrome, makes these, and so she was raising money for him and for his programs that he's in. So
awesome.
I got it from her.
Very cool. And you've got a couple of projects. One of your movies came out 2 weeks ago, Maple Valley Christmas, and you've got another Hallmark film coming up, Three Wise Men and a Baby, with Tyler Hines and Paul Campbell, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So can you tell? I know you can't really say much about the movie, but what would you say you love most?
No, I can say about the movie. I can,
okay.
Basically, I mean, I just can't go into too much detail. I promised the guys and also Hallmark we're doing a lot more in-depth interviews after the movie airs about the movie, but it's basically just about 3 brothers, dysfunctional family. A baby gets dropped off. I'm a firefighter, gets dropped off at the fire station a few days before Christmas. It's got a note with my name on it saying that I need to take the baby, and I bring the baby home, My mom is there at that time. We all three brothers still live with our mom, and and it just so happens that my mom has to leave the next day because my aunt has an accident, and she's got to take care of her. And she's like, "Boys, you got this. I'm leaving, but you guys got this." She doesn't have a lot of confidence in us that we do have it, but I'm kind of the guy that I'm the glue that holds the family together. Our father had left the family at a young age. He just kind of walked, and so there's definitely some scarring there, and some issues that we have never talked about, that never worked through. But that's kind of broad strokes about the movie. But it's about basically each brother, and we're wildly unprepared for what it takes to raise a baby. But you have to watch the movie and see what happens with us. And
Yeah.
Paul Campbell wrote it with Kimberly Sustad. So it was brilliant script, like probably one of the best scripts that I've read.
Awesome.
Ever, like outside of Hallmark, ever. It's got it's so funny. It's got so much heart to it. I cried when I read the script.
Wow. And is the premiere going to be I know the movie's going to be airing next week, but you're going to be are you going to Chicago on December 2nd and 3rd for?
I am trying to go to Chicago. Right now, I'm working on Friday night in Vancouver.
Okay.
And I have a red eye scheduled, so hopefully I can make the red eye.
Okay. So
it's
those
really,
of you out
I'm
there
at the mercy.
Yeah, those of you out there, I'm actually going to be in Chicago, and it's a Rama Drama / Hallmark event where there's going to be 2 movies premiering. And is 3 Men and a Baby going to be one of those movies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. On Friday night, I believe Ryan Pavey and Brooke Dorsey's movie is airing.
Okay.
And then 3 Men and a Baby is airing late morning, early afternoon on Saturday.
And if people want to come to Chicago to be a part of this event, do you know how they would go about getting tickets?
Yeah, you can do it on Roma Drama. I think you can do it on the Roma Drama website.
Okay.
And
Ramadrama.com, ROMADRMA.com. And Ramadrama, for those of you guys who haven't heard of it, it's this amazing event. And again, Andrew and I reconnected there this past June down in West Palm Beach, Florida. We're going to be doing another Ramadrama event, looks like in Dallas next year, I believe in June. And it's an opportunity.
Oh, is that where it's going to be?
I believe so. We're still like, I think that's been what's been talked about. Not 100% sure yet, but this is an opportunity for anyone to come down and meet a bunch of us actors, sign out, get autographs, take pictures, and we do all kinds of fun things like karaoke. We do acting with the stars, and it's an amazing, fun 3 days of just doing some, being able to hang out and have a lot of great fun together. So for December 2nd and 3rd, we're doing this in Chicago. Hopefully you can be there, Andrew. And as we wrap up here, thanks for the conversation. I know we've gone a little bit longer than we normally do, but it's been great to have this great chat with you, Andrew. And I just wanted to now ask you about your favorite films. And this little section is brought to you by Picticular, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. And this is the Picticular Pick 6. If you haven't downloaded the Picticular app, go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store and download Picticular. It's the movie curating app that allows you to find trending movies and to be able to find all of Andrew's movies. So if you want to find out all the movies that Andrew has been in and watch them, all you got to do is download Picticular, type his name in there, and all of his movies pop up, and then it'll actually show you where you can watch these films. So whether it's Amazon or Peacock or Netflix, whatever it is, it's a really great way to be able to find exactly where to watch someone's movies. So Andrew, that being said, the first question of the Picticular Pick 6 is, what is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, such a tough question. I would have to say my favorite movie of all time. I really do live in the past with this. I haven't, because of being a dad, I haven't really been too current with my movie watching. I know there's been a lot of movies out there that I've missed, but I'd say Back to the Future is probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
Amazing. Amazing. That's such a great movie. Such a great movie. Did you know that um, Michael J. Fox was actually the actor that replaced an actor that they originally started filming with?
Yes. And who was that actor again? It was
oh, someone's gonna know this.
it was like Warren Beatty or something. It was
Nope.
it was
No.
it was
Eric Stoltz.
it was Eric Stoltz.
Yes. Eric Stoltz. If you go to YouTube, you can actually see, you can Google they shot for like 6 weeks, and they just were not feeling like Eric was getting the comedy. And it's a lot darker than what Michael J. Fox brought to the movie. You could actually Google and watch some of the scenes, and they show side by side the comparison of what Eric's scenes look like compared to Michael J. Fox's.
Wow, that's
definitely
that's
tell.
so cool.
And they couldn't get Michael J. Fox he was shooting Family Ties at the time, and they just couldn't. They wanted him, and they just couldn't get him out of his shooting schedule. And finally, they were able to figure it out and get him to do it. But you can see,
Look at that.
Yeah, that's how crazy this business can be.
I can't wait to watch that movie with West. That's the next movie that I need to watch with him. I watched Goonies with him.
Nice.
Which was a great rewatch.
Yeah, definitely. And this may be the same movie, but what was your favorite movie growing up as a kid?
Yeah, it was Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have the holidays coming up, what would you say your favorite holiday movie is?
Home Alone. It's got to be Home Alone. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And what would you say your favorite comedy is?
My favorite comedy would have to be I'm really partial to all the Christopher Guest movies. I love like Best in Show and stuff.
Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah, Waiting for Guffman. I would, but
Spinal Tap.
It's hard to beat. Will Ferrell stuff.
Yes.
It's hard to beat like some of the newer comedies. I'd have to say, and newer, I mean, within the past 10 years or so, probably old school maybe, I did love Happy Gilmore though. You know what? Happy Gilmore has got to be one of my favorite comedies. Happy Gilmore.
Okay. Happy Gilmore. I like it. Mine, I'd have to say, is Anchorman.
Anchorman is a great one. Anchorman. Yeah. Yes, Anchorman is so good.
Yes, definitely. But Happy Gilmore is great. Who's your favorite? You've already mentioned him, but maybe who's your favorite actor? If it's Tom Cruise, what was your favorite role that he's done?
Well, I think Tom Cruise, he's somebody that I look up to as an actor, and all the things that he's able to bring to the table. Like he's reversing an age, and his commitment is incredible. But I would say Daniel Day-Lewis is probably my favorite male actor, and I would say There Will Be Blood is probably such a good movie, and what a performance.
I drink your milkshake.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, so brutal, man.
He's so brutal.
Such a great character in that.
Yeah,
and Bill the Butcher in Gangs of New York.
Oh,
he's phenomenal. Yeah. Who's your favorite actress or female character in a movie?
Kate Blanchett brings it every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite movie of hers?
What was the one where it's one word. It's like Jane or Judy. No, not Judy. No, that's not Judy. Not Judy Garland. It was no Blue. Was it called Blue? What was
where
Blue
she played
something?
The rich woman who lost everything and she had to learn. Yes. Yeah. So good.
What's that movie called?
Someone in the chat, type it in, or you can go to particular and type in Cape West. Actually,
Blue something, I think it was, or
yes, it's got to be in there. So if we go to particular and we look her up.
Carol?
Is that what it's called?
That movie Carol? No, Blue Jasmine.
Blue Jasmine, yes.
Blue Jasmine.
Okay, so in particular, here she is, and then you go down here, and then you can scroll to all of her movies. And have you seen Don't Look Up yet?
Yes.
Yeah, she was unrecognizable in that.
Yep.
So Blue Jasmine, and then once it pops up, it shows where it's available to watch, shows the trailer. So this app is amazing.
What do you think? I love it.
And that's a great movie.
Great movie.
All right, my friend. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate
you.
The interview, and good luck with everything. Hopefully I'll see you in Chicago in a couple of weeks. And question I like to ask my guests before we sign off is, what inspires you?
This may sound strange at this time in our life, but humanity inspires me. I think there's a lot of positive things out there that we are eventually going to see, and it's humanity inspires me because I think we're so capable.
I love it. I think there's so many positive things about humanity that, unfortunately, with the media and what it's so easy to see all the negative stuff that's going on in the world. And it's great to hear all the great positive things that you're doing, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. It's awesome. It's inspiring. And you and Cassandra are doing some great things. And I'm proud to call you a friend.
Thank you, man. You as well.
Thanks, brother.
You inspire me too, man. You're doing some incredible things, and thank you for doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got to do another movie.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
I know we do.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
All right, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Give Cassandra a big hug and a kiss for me.
I will. Thanks, man.
All
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Take care.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging in here. I know we went a little bit long today, but we had a lot of stuff to talk about. And I think Andrew gave some really great advice in terms of, I liked his analogy with life, where he just thinks of life as him just kind of floating down this river, and the things that come up where sometimes you just want to take some time to just appreciate where you're at, and just having an idea of where you want to go, but just being able to stop and enjoy and take in the things and seeing what doors open up. And a lot of the times, because of the unknown that is on the other side of these doors, we don't necessarily want to step into them. But as you could hear from Andrew today, and from my experience, the best things in life are on the other side of these doors, where the unknown is, because in that unknown, you get to explore new things. You get to find out more about yourself, and you meet some amazing people, and you start to develop more confidence in yourself. And I would just encourage you, with whatever it is that you're doing, And like what Andrew was talking about with that feeling that you have inside of you and just following his instincts, and that his formula for life is just living life and living it based on wanting to pursue and manifest a long and fruitful and healthy life. And what does that mean for you? And a lot of the times that means taking good care of ourselves, making sure we are eating right, getting enough sleep, and making sure that we are not saying yes to everything that gets presented to us, because we've got to take care of ourselves. We got to make sure that we are taking good care of ourselves so that we can show up in the world and be our best selves for everyone else out there. Because if you are not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be good to anyone out there. And people can tell when you are honoring yourself. And that's a big thing that I talk about in my book, Agile Artist, in terms of just making sure that you are doing things and making decisions in your life that honor you first. Because that is the key to life, is just making sure that you're taking care of yourself. And that way you can show up and be the best version of yourself for everyone else. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your week. Hopefully we'll see you in Chicago in a couple of weeks at the Rama Drama event. And if you want to find out a little bit more about what I'm up to, you can go to my website, colinegglesfield.com. And the holidays are coming up, so I know it's going to get busy here in the next few weeks, but we're going to have a great few guests coming up here in the next few weeks on Coffee with Colin. So stay tuned for next week and the weeks to come. For now, I'm going to sign off, and have a great Monday. Take care.